G'day guys, and welcome back to the Ugboot Investor. Today I want to talk to you about how you can enjoy your lifestyle now, knowing that you've got a comfortable retirement value in the future. It's a principle called CoastFIRE. The financial FIRE principle was established in 1992 with a book called Your Money, Your Life. The way that it works is that you need to know what your expenses are going to be in retirement. Once you know your expenses, you multiply that by 25. That tells you the lump sum amount that you need to have in invested assets so that you can withdraw 4% of that and cover your expense rate. The reason it's 4% is hopefully your invested assets are returning above 4%, so that the net difference is that your invested assets are still growing. You're able to cover your expenses in that moment, meaning you no longer have to work now. Hence, financial independence, retire early, FIRE. The concept of CoastFIRE is a little bit different. It takes into consideration retirement age and compound interest. The idea behind CoastFIRE is that instead of retiring from work and not working anymore in your lifetime, you'll continue to work, but in an industry that you want, with less stress, less hassles. You need to know when it is that you want to stop saving money. So if you set a time frame for 5 or 10 years in the future, that period of time is where you scrimp and save really hard. You want to build your wealth pool up as much as you possibly can, and then let that grow as compound interest happens over time. The growth will, at a given compound interest rate, will grow until it gets to your FIRE number or your retirement value. Once you hit that retirement value, which is predicted at your retirement age, you'll be able to retire from the workforce and withdraw 4% to cover your expenses. Once you hit that CoastFIRE value, the lump sum amount that you compound interest into retirement, it takes away the stresses of having to save money in the now. What that means is if you were diligently putting aside 20% for savings, you can now reallocate that amount into living in the moment, or living now, enjoying life and doing what you will with it. Now, do I recommend this personally? No, I think you should still save some money. But what it does mean is that if you're prepared to work until your retirement age, you can reduce the amount of savings that you have. The savings amount itself is just a buffer that I like to personally have, not knowing what's going to happen with the markets in the future. It's a really interesting concept, and I want to walk you through how it actually works. So let's jump into a spreadsheet that I created to show you how the concept of CoastFIRE works in principle. Alright guys, let's jump into the spreadsheet so we can see how CoastFIRE actually works. So as you can see here on the spreadsheet, there's a series of requirements that are needed to be filled in before it actually spits out an output. What you need to do, as we discussed earlier, is understand what your annual expenses in retirement are going to be. So, for example, if you knew that you were going to have a $40,000 annual expense to cover your lifestyle expenses in retirement, then you would type $40,000 in here. Understanding how the 4% rule works, you multiply that $40,000 by 25, and that gives you a total sum of $1 million. So your objective is to obtain $1 million by the time you retire. Withdrawing 4% of your $1 million nest egg will give you $40,000 to cover your annual expenses. Of course, you want that $1 million to grow more than 4%, and that net difference means that you're continuing to grow your nest egg over time. Now, the way that the calculator works from here is it takes your current age. So I'm going to use me as an example. I'm going to put 32 into the calculator. The next thing you need to do is know at what age you actually want to retire from the workforce. So most people like to retire in their mid-60s, so I'm going to put 65 down as a number here. The next really important thing is to say, how long is it going to take for me to scrimp and save as hard as I possibly can so that I can build that minimum lump sum such that over the next compounding years until retirement, it's going to equal my $1 million. So I'm going to put in 5 years. So for 5 years, I'm going to scrimp, I'm going to save, I'm going to do anything I can to reduce my expenses, increase my income, such that I can have a minimum amount required to hit $1 million at the age of 65. The last thing you need to do for the calculator is add the investment rate that you believe your nest egg is going to return on average year on year. For this particular example, I'm just going to use 7%. If you were to put the money into a growth mutual fund, say the index fund for the Australian index shares, that has achieved on average somewhere between 8 to 10% per year. So 7% is a conservative number, but what it means is it gives you some fat if something was to go wrong. The calculator now takes in those parameters and it tells you that your CoastFIRE number in 5 years from where you are now, for me specifically, would be $150,402. So what does that mean? It means that in 5 years from today, the age of 32, so by the time I am 37 years old, I would have to have $150,000 saved in an account that is invested at a 7% year-on-year return. If I do that, as you can see in the graph, it would equal $1 million by the time I'm 65. The advantage of this, as we discussed earlier, is that you can start to have a little bit more freedom while you're working and enjoying life. You do not have to save as much. You can use some of that savings to enjoy life a bit more. I've added a few other things into this particular graph to just give you some versatility for it. If you take a look down below, you can add in your existing savings. So even though the goal is $150,000 for me in this example, if I, for example, had an existing $50,000 saved up, what that would mean is that it takes the 150, subtracts the 50,000 and divides that by the years until I have until retirement, and it's telling me that on average I have to save an additional $20,000 per year in order to hit my CoastFIRE number of $150,402. I hope this tool gives you a little bit of inspiration to know that you can actually make it. You can get your retirement value, your desired goal. The purpose behind this is to give you hope, give you some direction, and to ensure that if you decided that you wanted to actually work until retirement age of 65, or any retirement age of that matter, is that you can still enjoy the moments now. Because once those 5 years finish, or the years until CoastFIRE, you're no longer required to save money and put it aside. Now remember, once again, I'm not advocating that you stop saving altogether. However, there is no reason that you can't reduce your savings and increase your living in the moment. I hope this helps you guys along your journey. I can't wait to hear some of the comments below about how you're using the tools available to help with your own financial planning. Thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.